Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third week of Design Tools. We're going to go over some things for Excel along the way. Let me go ahead and work my way through here for you real quick. I'm going to jump into Excel. All right, so we're going to start with a blank workbook here. That's how you should start off. All right, so we've got some stuff here. Excel's pretty easy in the grand scheme of things for doing like math and working things out. Handles different things like just storing data or do computations, or even crazy things like doing pixel art if you really wanted to. You could do that. All right, so like I said earlier, if you have questions, feel free to put them in chat. I will be checking on that, and we'll deal with that along the way. So let's work through a few things here. So if you specifically, like I said, if you specifically have questions, feel free to ask. All right. And of course, you should probably turn off all the other stuff. Go away, Discord. There we go. Cool. All right. So let me pull some stuff up here real quick. Okay, so like I said, Excel has all kinds of goodies here that we can use. We can use it to store information. We can use it to calculate things. We can run simulations. Just all kinds of really great things. All right, let's see. Pull that up. So as you work through stuff, we can actually do, like I said, pretty simple things like, storing numbers. And we can pull dirty little tricks like that. Like I've shown you in the videos. If you've watched the videos, a lot of the stuff I'm going to go over is pretty routine with that. So we can set things up like that. And it's smart enough to work like this. Either we can drag it down or we can double click on that. It handles things for formulas as well, doing the same thing. All right, and of course it'll copy that down for us. Now, let's say there was some specific things that you might want to do. All right. So let's say you're doing a simulation. Maybe you're trying to calculate certain things happening. So let's do a calculation. All right. So let's say we were simulating, I don't know, Full Sail's master's degree. One of our master's degrees, and in that master's degree, we have a failure rate of, say, 5%. All right, so 5%. Every month we lose 5%. That's not how it really is, but just imagine it is. And we have a starting group of, say, 100. All right, so we've got 100 here. We're going to start off with that, and we lose 5% every month. Because we're playing Dark Souls mode at that point, right? All right, so let's go ahead and copy that value down here. All right, and we're gonna just have it right there. All right, we want to find 5% of this number, right? So we get that number, and how do you find 5% of a number? It's pretty simple. Well, you just multiply that by 0.05. All right. So that is 5% of 100. 5, right? Pretty simple. All right. Well, let's take our starting number and subtract that off. All right. So that was pretty simple, isn't it? So we've got our first month, and that's cool. But let's say we're going to do this for 12 months. All right. So we're going to do this for 12 months. We're going to go down here to 13. Right? Now, if we're dealing with students right here, we do have a problem though, right? A quarter of a student can get kind of messy, right? Or a little over half, or a little over 3/4, or whatever. We only want to deal in whole students, don't we? So we have to modify this here. All right, so we have to tell Excel, hey, that's nice and all, but I only want to deal in whole numbers. And we have to do it mathematically. We can't just change the formatting, because if we change the formatting and tell it, okay, we only show, we don't want to show any decimals, it will only show the whole numbers, but in the background, it will calculate the decimals. So we're going to modify this here. All right. We're going to throw a command in front of it to say, hey, give me only integers. All right, so that first one doesn't change because it was already an integer, right? So remember, an integer is a whole number, right? No fractions of numbers. So we're going to copy this down here. Just drag that down. And you'll notice that it now has changed. So 5% of 100 is 5, right? So we subtract that off. Well, 5% of 95 is not 5 point something, it's 4 point something, right? So we're dropping the point something, the 0.75 something. All right, so now we're down to that, and we work our way down there. And this is, after 12 months. So you might see that in some time, right? Any questions so far? I'm hoping you guys are hearing me, right? Okay, just want to make sure. All right, so let's move on. All right. So, let's get into some gaming. We've done the boring kind of just figure numbers there, right? But what if we bring some randomness into this? Let's go ahead and do that. So one of the things you're going to do a lot is you're going to simulate dice rolls. We can use that for finding, probabilities of things happening. And this kind of ties us back to, the roots of tabletop gaming and stuff like that. So let's think about this. All right, so we've got some dice that we're going to deal with. One of the most common ones that we use, or at least you hear a lot of, is the D20. It's a 20-sided die, and it kills us a lot, or lets us kill a lot. So we can actually simulate that, and that's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate a 20-sided dice here. So we'll do a ran between. Ran between allows us to choose a number randomly between two numbers, and those numbers be inclusive. So we're going to go as low as 1 and as high as 20. All right, so that equals ran between 1 comma 20 gives us that. Hold on one second, let me see what that is. Don't have a second. Wow, this is ding 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 ding. Who's it? Okay, Eric. So some of the stuff is going to change a little bit depending on how you write it. There are a few things that it would have to kind of adhere. Basically, as long as you get the right number, I'm pretty much okay with that, and it's consistently the right number. There are a few ways to do what I'm going to show you. Does that answer your question, Eric? OG Eric, as I remember, right? Okay. Let's see. All right. So we've got that. We've got that here. Eric, can you do that later? All right. Okay, excellent. Okay, so we've got our random number here between 1 and 20 inclusive. If we hit control equals, allows us to randomly roll through those there. Cool. All right, so we need to do this 4 times. Now, I know you might kind of want to go, oh, well, here, let's just take this number and multiply it by 4 and get that. But that's not good. That's not the same thing. That would just be, multiplying it. It doesn't work that way. Also, the other one you might be tempted to use is to take value and let's say we got to do this 4 times. Excuse me. You might be tempted to do this 4 comma 80 because technically that would get you all the values in between. But the problem with that is you don't properly represent all the values. Let's think of it this way. The easiest way to go for that is if you were doing 2 20-sided dice, right? So what are the possible values of 2 20-sided dice? That's everything from 2, 3, 4, right? That'd be 2 to 12, wouldn't it? Right? So 2 to 12. All right, so how many ways are there to make a 2 with 2 6-sided dice? There's only one, right? That's a 1 and a 1, right? How many ways are there to make a 12 with 2 6-sided dice? Well, that'd be a 6 and a 6, wouldn't it? Right? So there's only one way to do it. All right, what about how many ways are there to make a 3? Well, there's the 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 1, right? So there are 2 ways of doing that. And, same thing with 11. So how many ways we do that? We could do a 6 and a 5, right? And a 5 and a 6, right? What else could we do? Nothing, right? So there we go. All right. Well, that's kind of we're working our way through here, so we can do a 4 could be a 2 and a 2. You get 2 chances of doing that, right? A 1 and a 3 and a 3 and a 1. Well, let's just mark that as 3, right? And so on. And as we get towards the center here, we start hitting things where there's a lot more chance of hitting these. So if we work our way towards the center, we get a lot more on that. So you have a better chance of rolling something in the center than you do at the 2 ends here, right? So that's why we do each one individually. Cool? All right, so let me go ahead and clear these contents there. All right, so let's do this. We're going to do this 4 times, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to roll a 20-sided dice 4 times. All right. Cool. Yeah, it's pretty typical for me. All right, so we've rolled that 4 times, and we're gonna add all those together, right? We're gonna take all these values here, and we're gonna add them together. Now, I could look at it and go 1 plus 2 plus 11 plus 19. Now, yeah, I could, but we're gonna have Excel do it because these things are gonna change, and I don't want to have hand calculator every time, right? So we're gonna use the sum of all these numbers. All right, so it's calculated that for me. Yeah, 2 18s, a 1 and a 2. So we can run through these here, and they're going to typically stay towards the center. Cool. All right. So let's say if we're going to roll these, and if we get a 20 or less on here, we're going to roll 2 more. So let's figure that out. So we can use a command called if. We talked about these in the videos here. If this value is less than or equal to 20, then we're going to roll another 2. So I'm going to just do that here. I'm going to take this value and add to it 2 more ran betweens. So ran between 1 comma 20 plus another ran between 1 comma 20. All right, so that's what happens if that's true. So if we are less than or equal to 20, then we're going to roll 2 more. Otherwise, we're just going to bring this value forward because it's good enough, right? And there we go. So when you're doing this kind of stuff, you should always test it to make sure it does exactly what you expect it to do. All right, so this is going to take a while. Well, depending on the luck of the roll. Yeah, we may get it early. So I'm going to run for this, and I'm going to test to make sure this works. So I'm going to look at this number. If it goes to 20 or less, I'm going to make sure this number is greater than that. Make sure it works. There we go. Wow, that was actually pretty quick. So we got a 19 on here. So that was a 9, a 3, a 5, and a 2. All right. So that's the 19, right? And then we rolled 2 more 20-sided dice, and that brought it up to 43. All right. So we know this is working. All right. So that's one thing you should always do when you're writing something kind of complex. Test yourself along the way. Make sure it's working. It's behaving how you expect it to behave. All right. That goes along with programming and all that good stuff, right? Okay, so we've got that. So let's go ahead and select all these here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these down. Now, I could copy and paste it, or I could drag this down. And we're going to do this 10,000 times. I could drag it down, but that take a long time. But I don't have that kind of time for that. So I'm going to do A1 up here in the top corner. I'm going to do A1 colon H 10,000. Right, so that's going to select all of those. So yeah, I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to copy it down. All right, so there's a button over here that says fill. All right, so I'm going to click that, and we're going to bring it down. Okay, so now that has done that 10,000 times. All right. So the idea is to find what is the average score. So this is a Monte Carlo simulation because we're doing it a whole bunch of times. Find out what typically happens. So we'll do an average of everything in H. So I could do H1 colon H 10,000, or I could do H colon H. And what that will do is say, hey, average everything in the H column. All right, so I'm going to close that out. And look at that. Hey, look at that. That's sticking around pretty well to that number, isn't it? And of course it's that number, right? Cool. Try not to. I mean, I guess you could if on here. It's fine if you truncate that. Yeah, for a whole number, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. All right, so we've got that, and we're running through that, and yeah, here. You know what? I'm going to show you something here real quick. Let's do this again. Let's do it the wrong way. Let's see how much it changes. 4 comma 80, right? Okay, so we did that. So we have that number. Equals if, right? This is 20. Oops. Helps if I type right? This is less than or equal to 20. Yeah, I know. This value, come on, plus another rand between 2 comma 40. All right, comma, and then this number. All right, so this is the wrong way to do it. So we're just going to take all these shortcuts here. Let's see. Yeah, so there you go. There's it happening. But let's do this. Let's see. M1 through. Actually, let's wait to do that. No, I guess we can do that now. Yeah. M1 colon in 10,000. All right, we'll copy that down. All right. Let's do this here. Equals average. Let's see. In. Doink. Now, you see? We're getting a much high. We're getting several points higher than that. See what I mean? Okay, this is the bad way. Bad. Good. All right. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at the next one. Okay. So we're gonna play a game, and we're gonna flip a coin 10 times. So, if we just get rid of the stupidly small chance that a coin lands on its side, we'll just say it has a rounded edge. So it's going to be one way or the other, no matter what. All right. So let's go ahead and simulate that. And that's actually pretty easy. So we'll do rand between 0, comma 1. All right, so it's either going to be heads or tails. All right, so let's go ahead and do this 10 times. It's pretty easy. All right, so we've got that first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we've got that 10 times. All right, let's go ahead and determine what is going to be heads, 0 or 1. Leave that up to you guys. 0 is going to be what? 0 heads? Okay. All right, we'll do that. Okay. So, we need to find out if there are 4 in a row. So the way you're going to win is you're going to get 4 heads in a row. And, well, we need to find out, right? So what is the first set we're going to check? Well, the first 4, right? A, B, C, and D, right? So let's do that. All right. So we need to find out a way to see if everything is true, right? So we're going to use a command called AND. So if you remember Boolean logic, yes, that Boolean logic, we're going to use that for, to help us. So we're going to see if, A1 equals 0, because we've chosen 0 this time. B1 equals 0. And C1 equals 0. And D1 equals 0. Okay, so we're going to determine if those first 4 are all heads. All right, so in this case it's false. So let's test that. Let's see. Well, if we had done the other way around, that should have popped up, but let's see. Let's keep going here. There we go. Yes, it is marked as true because A, B, C, and D are all 0, so those are all heads. Cool? All right, so what's the next set we need to do? We're doing it in a row. So A, B, C, and E would not be a set we're worried about. But that's B3 is what we'd be worrying about. Yeah. So does that change your Devin? Does that change your outlook on the question? Right. Okay, so we're doing B3. He's correct. Some people want to do E through E, F, G, H, and I. That's not what we want to do. We do want to. Sorry, Devin is definitely correct. We want to do the next 4: B, C, D, and E. So let's do that. Well, I could go here and type it out, but if you remember watching the videos, when I drag something, it's not actually looking directly at the numbers like A1 and B1. It's looking at the offset, and this can be our friend. So we're going to just move this over 1. Okay, so now if we look at this, and now it's B1, C1, D1, and E1. Pretty fancy, huh? Okay, so let's test that. All right, equals, there you go. So that is working. Cool. So let's continue on. So we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 4 and 5. Okay, so we can make sure we got the right number here. If we click on R here, if we look for the last one, so that would be J. J1. Yep, there it is, J1. Those are the last 4. So let's go ahead and run this. Control equals. We're going to see if. There we go. So there's 4 in a row there. There's actually enough to trigger it twice. But really, we're only interested in doing this, counting it this as 1 win. Right? Because, once you hit that first one, you've already won. Right? I'm going to reduce these down here. Let's see if this allows me to magically do that. Yes, it does. Very good. Okay, so we've got all those there. We've got these here. Now, we need to check. We really only need to count one win per round, right? Because this is a whole round here. Technically, we're supposed to stop rolling once we hit that 4, but it's easier just to do it this way, to do them all the time, and work from there. So we don't want to count all these. We don't want to work with one that maybe has multiple wins, like right here. Like, we don't want to count this as 4, right? Because really, you only win one once in this round, because we would have stopped at the first one, right? So what we need to do is we need to see if any of these are true. So anybody here remember the Boolean operator that would tell us if anything in it is true? That is correct, Nathan. We are looking for or. So we're going to use or here. All right, so open parenthesis on that. And I could put one of these, as L1 equal to true and M1 equal to true. Yeah, I could do that. But the nice thing is they're already in true false format. So that's what they're looking for. So I could literally do just this. Just drag select L through R. L1 through R1. All right, and close that out. Dunk. Okay, so right now, as you know, every time I do something, it recalculates it. So right now we don't have any wins in there. Let's give this a try. Control equals. Hey, we had 2 wins, but we're counting it as 1. Cool? Okay, well, we need to do this a whole bunch of times, right? A1 through T 10,000. Let's go ahead and fill that down. Cool. All right. Now we need to find out how many wins we have out of 10,000. So this one's a little tricky. This uses a command called countif. So if you remember in the video, we had count that would count the number of filled cells. Well, countif does that. It checks the value only if certain criteria are met. All right, so we're going to do a range. So we're going to do, animate cry, T:(T), right? Try that again. All right, T:(T), comma, and our criteria is we're looking to see if it's true. All right, we're going to close that out. All right, so out of 10,000 times, we won 2,389. Control equals on that. 24. Apparently everybody's talking on Discord right now, so. Okay. Well. Take that number. All right, so what is this value right here? That would be the percentage, wouldn't it? If we hit this, unfortunately, we'll go ahead and convert it. It'll give us a whole number, won't it? Cool. Or we can show it as that so we get an actual number. All right, any questions so far? So don't just fill these in. Make sure that you review the questions that you have because they may be different. But they should be fairly similar. Maybe some minor tweaks. All right. Let's see. Hey, Eric, did we come up with the right numbers? OG Eric, I think. Okay. Well, on this one, on this one and the second one, they should be similar. They should hover around thing. Yeah, there are like at least half a dozen ways of doing the second two and coming up with the right information. If you look, you know where you clicked on to get here to register for this. If you look below that, there will be links to the videos. Garrett. Mm, that is one way to do it. Yes. Just make sure yours is going through. Uh, you're coming up with very similar numbers on this. Cool. That's okay, Garrett. I understand. Congratulations. Or tell your wife congratulations. Uh, it was literally just dividing it by 10,000. Just did the average and divided by 10,000. In fact, it's right there. Cool. Anybody have any other questions? Yes, is the average of T. Or I'm sorry, not that's the count of wins. I'm sorry. No, sorry. V1 is the count. See, we counted uh, all the trues in there, and then I just divided by 10,000 to show us you the percentage of the number of wins. I'm sorry. Yeah, mathematically, that's how you write 5%, Garrett. That's fine. On this one, yeah, that's fine. Because yeah, that is correct. FNF9. Oh, control equals is. Uh, oh well, true. Well, you're using it on the Mac side? Then you just well FNF. Yeah, the FNF9 will work, but control equals will always work as well. So yeah. So, just a little heads up for uh, just a little heads up for next week when we are working in Unity. If you will make sure that you install it um, Monday, Monday, to make sure that you have the latest version. If you have already installed Unity, they just put out a new update to it a few days ago. So, excuse me. I want to make sure everybody's on the same version. So, yeah, Windows side for Unity. Well, technically, you could do fine on the Mac side. They're using a new version of Visual Studio on the Mac side too. So, actually, either one is fine. Just make sure that you can zip up um, the Unity directory, or where you're saving your stuff, the directory for it. Cool. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? Yeah, like I said, wait till Monday to do it, just in case they put out a new version between now and then. I want to make sure everybody's on the same version. If you have already installed it, just reinstall it again. Go to the website and download it um, on Monday, or download the installer. If it's the same version, you don't need to reinstall it. But if it's changed, just run the installer again. Yeah, just deal with that. Run the installer again, and it'll take care of it. Well, number one was easy. All right. Well, unless we have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end it here so I can get you guys get the recording up for you. All right, not a problem. Have fun, everybody, and see you next week.